Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me just introduce some people that are here. In addition to many of our caucus and cabinet ministers, President of the CBSA, Erin O'Gorman, Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP, Brian Larkin, Canada's fentanyl czar, Kevin Brasseau, as well as Minister Lightbound, être ici avec moi, as well as my caucus and cabinet colleagues. Good morning, bonjour. I would like to start by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. On April the 28th, 2025, Canadians gave Prime Minister Mark Carney a mandate to ensure the safety and security of Canadians. This was reinforced by His Majesty King Charles III in the speech from the throne last week. Canadians expect this Parliament to work together and deliver for them. In my relatively short tenure as Minister of Public Safety, I've had the chance to see some of the incredible work of our frontline service personnel firsthand. While I was in Cornwall recently, officers from the Canada Border Service Agency and the RCMP shared their concerns with me and offered ideas on how we can do a better job in supporting them. A strong border is essential to our national security, to foster safe communities and support our economy, and in recognition of this, our government has taken a number of important steps. In December of last year, we introduced Canada's Border Plan, an ambitious $1.3 billion investment to strengthen border security. We appointed a fentanyl czar, Kevin Brasseau. We listed 7 cartels as terrorist organizations and launched Canada-US Joint Strike Force. These are important steps, and I want to be clear with Canadians. Ce sont des étapes importantes et je veux être clair avec les Canadiennes. Our borders are strong and secure, but there's always more we can do to further strengthen them. Nos frontières sont fortes et sécuritaires, mais nous pouvons toujours en faire plus pour les renforcer. The reality is that new risks will always emerge that threaten our national and economic security. For example, in recent years, transnational criminal organizations have become more sophisticated. Increasingly, they're using new technologies and more complex ways to move money that make it difficult for law enforcement to investigate their illegal activities. It is the same for those who engage in other serious crimes, such as human smuggling, trafficking of fentanyl, precursor chemicals, and other narcotics, and the smuggling of illegal firearms into our communities. We need to ensure Canada's law enforcement is equipped with the tools they need to stay ahead of organized crime groups and crack down on their illicit activities. This is essential to maintaining the safety and security of our country. It is also a priority that we share with our neighbors. Canadians and Americans have a shared interest when it comes to our border. We want to keep threats out. Les Canadiens et les Américains ont un intérêt commun en ce qui concerne notre frontière. Nous voulons les protéger contre ces menaces. We also want to keep our people and communities safe. Nous voulons également assurer la sécurité de nos citoyens et de nos communautés. This morning, I introduced Bill C-2, the Strong Borders Act. With this new legislation, we'll ensure Canada has the right tools to keep our borders secure, combat transnational organized crime and fentanyl, and disrupt illicit financing. The bill updates existing laws to bolster our response to national and economic security threats while enhancing the integrity and fairness of our immigration system. Among some of the key changes are new powers for border officers to examine goods destined for export, to prevent the transport of illegal goods such as stolen vehicles. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies will also have some new tools to stop the flow of fentanyl and its precursors. By investing in advanced technology, by supporting our border personnel and law enforcement, we'll be able to better prevent illegal cross-border activity. We will do so while protecting charter rights of Canadians, safeguarding their privacy, and ensuring due process. In addition to these measures, Canada will continue to work with our U.S. partners to ensure that our border remains secure, while we continue to manage the legitimate and efficient movement of people and goods between our countries. The additional measures we're taking today to further secure Canada's border will help sustain the security and economic partnership for many years to come. To be truly strong, Canada must be secure. That is why I'm asking all parties to come together to support this very important legislation. Bill C2 will help make our borders even stronger and keep Canadians safe. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Is being shared with Howard Lutnick today in D.C.?
I will be meeting with Mr. Holman this afternoon, and I will be sharing elements of this plan with him for sure.
Est-ce qu'il y a des éléments du projet de loi qui sont des demandes du président Trump dans le but de faire lever des tarifs?
Joël?
D'une certaine manière, on pourrait dire que, pas particulièrement par rapport aux tarifs qui ont été annoncés par la Maison-Blanche en fin de semaine, mais quand on sait l'importance qu'accorde l'administration Trump à la lutte au fentanyl, il y a des mesures dans ce projet de loi-là qui visent directement à donner les pouvoirs aux autorités policières pour bien lutter contre la production, l'exportation de fentanyl, qui s'ajoutent à des mesures qu'on a déjà annoncées avec le plan pour la frontière de 1,3 milliard. Mais on peut penser, par exemple, à la possibilité pour l'Agence des services frontaliers de fouiller les exportations, d'avoir les espaces nécessaires pour fouiller les exportations. On peut penser au pouvoir que n'ont pas présentement les forces policières de fouiller certains courriers. C'est en ce moment impossible, même avec un mandat émis par un juge. Puis on sait que 2 grammes ou quelques grammes de fentanyl peuvent causer des milliers de surdoses. Ça vise à répondre aussi à un besoin qu'ont nos forces policières ici au Canada pour lutter contre le fentanyl.
Est-ce que c'est suffisant pour les faire reculer?
Écoutez, je ne vais pas spéculer sur, puis je laisserai le soin au ministre Leblanc de répondre à ces questions-là. Il est en ce moment à Washington pour négocier avec les Américains. Mais de notre côté, de toute manière, c'est quelque chose qui s'impose pour la sécurité des Canadiens.
Minister, just answer that question in English as well. Do you think this will appease the Trump administration?
Look, these measures are being taken for a number of reasons. First and foremost, Canadians elected a new government on April the 28th with the mandate to ensure the safety and security of Canadians, including securing our border, and many of the measures speak to that. Of course, there's elements that will strengthen the relationship with the United States. There are a number of elements in the bill that have been irritants for the U.S., so we are addressing some of those issues, but it's not exclusively about the United States. It's also about ensuring that our immigration system, for example, the integrity of our immigration system is strengthened, and the processes are in place so that Canada can be a stronger country with strong borders and strong provisions for the provision of, for example, on searches when many other countries have been much more advanced in having lawful access, for example.
How comfortable are you tabling this bill that gives such sweeping powers all at once to various law enforcement agencies? Are you concerned at all about the civil liberties of Canadians? Are you comfortable with that?
Look, I've worked my entire life in the protection of human rights and civil liberties. That's a marquee part of the work that I've done before politics, in politics. In order for me to bring forward legislation, it needed to have the safeguards in place. It needed to be charter in line with the values of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I fundamentally believe that we have strike the balance that while expanding powers in certain instances does have the safeguards and the protections in place to protect individual freedoms and rights.
Minister, given your background, in 2009 you helped with the Ocean Lady, in 2010 with the MV Sunseek coming to Canada. You were with the Canadian Tamil Congress, and at that point you helped provide legal advice and make connections for some of the migrants on that boat. Those boats both came to Canada illegally and were connected to the LTTE, a listed terrorist entity. Are you concerned you may have a credibility problem when it comes to securing the border?
I have a very strong history in supporting and working with asylum seekers and those who have come to Canada as refugees. I continue to do that in Parliament as a parliamentarian, as an MP, as a parliamentary secretary. I continuously work with many agencies that provide frontline services to refugees. So I do believe I have the credibility to talk about issues at our border, issues of those who come to Canada by irregular means. There is a moment in history right now where we have the opportunity to respond to some of the concerns that exist within Canada, but also with the United States, and those are the steps that we're taking today.
Sur l'entente des tiers pays sûrs, là, vous venez colmater la brèche des 14 jours, si je comprends bien. Comment s'assurer que les gens qui se prévalaient de cette brèche-là, on ne met pas leur sécurité en jeu?
Bien, d'abord, avant tout renvoi, il y a une évaluation de risque avant renvoi. Ça reste certainement. L'idée, c'est qu'on mette une fin à l'utilisation, disons, de ce contournement où certains allaient entrer de manière irrégulière à la frontière, allaient attendre le 14 jours, présenter leur demande par la suite. Ça agit aussi comme un déterrant ou un désincitatif pour ne pas inciter les gens à traverser de manière illégale la frontière, sachant qu'il n'y a plus accès à cette exemption-là, si vous voulez.
Le projet de loi prévoit des nouveaux pouvoirs là, concernant notamment le partage d'informations sur les délinquants sexuels. Pourquoi est-ce que ça, en particulier, c'est une priorité? Est-ce qu'il y a un problème en soi? Puis on parle de combien de personnes au final?
C'est une demande qui était répétée parce que le seuil était plus élevé pour partager ces informations-là. On pense que c'est la bonne chose à faire de s'assurer que les gens qui sont inscrits au registre des délinquants sexuels, on puisse partager l'information si on estime qu'il y a un risque pour des pays étrangers.
How much of this bill is about delivering a win for Donald Trump as you renegotiate a new security deal and economic deal with the U.S.?
This is about delivering a win for Canada. And ensuring that our borders are safer, our communities are safer. And of course, we're responding to some of the concerns that have been posed by the White House.
Can you affect the point of civil liberties and these cases where law enforcement won't need a warrant, or can you be more specific on how that will work or where it will work and why that's necessary?
Sure. So first of all, let me talk about the immigration components of it, where we have two components, including actually 4 components with respect to immigration. So one is the 14-day restriction of through the safe third country, making a claim within the first 14 days. As well as the first year, in order to claim asylum, if you're in Canada for more than a year, that you have to make a claim within the first year. The safeguard there is what's called a pre-removal risk assessment, which essentially will enable, if there is a bona fide refugee asylum seeker, that process will enable IRCC to determine if that individual will pose a risk to their safety if they're returned and if they go back to their home country. And it is an important safeguard. And if they are deemed to be a protected person, then they will be eligible to get status. And that's a very important element. The other piece is the information sharing piece. As you know, we are trying to make it more efficient for information to be shared within the different departments of the federal government as well as provinces and territories, and we have safeguards in place where information by provinces and territories cannot be shared to another country without the express consent of the Minister of IRCC. And the reason for that is to ensure that we have bilateral agreements where there's a safe way of sharing information. We're not sharing information of individuals to countries that we may not deemed to be democratic or countries that protect civil liberties. With respect to issues around lawful access, the safeguard is really production orders that law enforcement files and seeks through the court. So there is judicial oversight, except in the case of extringent circumstances. So if there is an active event happening, including that involves the safety and security of someone, law enforcement can intervene at that point and seek and demand production of information. But in the absence of that, there is a judicial process by which they need to go and seek the warrants and the production orders required for them to continue the investigation. These are some of the very important safeguards that are built in.
There doesn't seem to be anything in the bill specifically about stopping gun smuggling into Canada. And you have measures here to interdict, to review Canadian exports going into the United States, but there's no new measures to interdict smuggled guns that are responsible for most gun crime in Canada. So can you explain why that is, if the bill is about protecting Canadians and not just Americans?
Well, so there's a number of measures in here that does, for example, broader authorities for the search of mail, for example. So that is something where, searches through Canada Post can determine, if there's illegal goods that are coming in. In terms of the border itself, the additional investments that we're building on, the $1.3 billion investment, does expand our capabilities, whether it is by water, by air, or additional CBSA officers, 1,000 officers, and 1,000 RCMP officers. Those enhance the ability of law enforcement to search for guns. So I was in Cornwall just 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I saw was the use of canine units, right? Canine dogs who were able to spot guns and be able to recover. So it's additional resources, not just the tools that's important, but also the additional resources that we've placed in the hands of law enforcement that will enhance border security.
Last question.
Why can't you trust the U.S. government with its current conduct to give it more information about immigration and things like that, given that it wrongly deports people to El Salvador, it's holding and deporting students? Can you explain why we can trust the U.S. with this more information?
Well, in circumstances where it's warranted and the U.S. has a legitimate reason to seek information about an individual, we have a bilateral agreement that, as part of the Five Eyes network, we share. So, for example, if somebody wants to come into Canada, there is a screening that takes place, including with our Five Eyes partners. So there is information sharing that happens. With respect to our relationship with the U.S. and immigration, it is governed by the Safe Third Country Agreement that both countries signed, and it was renewed and amended a couple of years ago. And that is what ensures that our relationship continues at our border. We have the U.S. as our closest neighbor and partner, and of course there's mobility that takes place each and every day. In fact, there's treaty rights that are built in, including the J Treaty, which is very much a part of the current system of migration back and forth.
What's the status of the strike force? What's the status of the strike force that Canada proposed with the U.S.? Is that moving along? Is that happening?
Well, I look forward to speaking with Mr. Holman today and assessing where we're at, and I will be able to report back to you guys.
Thank you.
Cornwall, has Akwesasne or other bordering First Nations been consulted on the border plan?
I look forward to, I was there and I spoke to both the Grand Chief as well as members of the community, and as part of the bill, as it goes through the system, as it goes through Parliament, as it goes through the committee process, we look forward to perspectives, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis perspectives on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.